Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to the Scorpio channel. My name is Laura. If you're new to my channel, I'm going to do a general message for Scorpio. Know that energy is fluid, roles could be reversed. Just interpret the message as it best resonates with you. Also know on this channel and all my channels, I like to dive deep within the reading. So I do look at everything, but we take time to look at the spiritual blocks, the shadows, to see how they play it as karmic themes to help you understand why everything's playing out the way that it is, right? We're magnets of who and what comes into our life. But a lot of times we're like, okay, like that person treats me horribly and I treat that person nicely, right? We're like, I would never treat that person that way. And so Spirit says, well, when we say that you're a mirror of who comes into your life, it's what you need. A lot of times you are attracting people that grew up the same way, have the same spiritual blockages, but that doesn't mean that they deal with those blockages the same way that you do. You could be someone that's really highly sensitive, someone that thinks and is emotional and tends to ruminate and then get more emotional or and be attracted to people that are like avoidant. And not because you're an avoidant, but because you need to learn something, right? That's really what it's about. We're down here in physical form to learn and to manifest. And you say, what the hell am I learning? Spirit says, well, you're supposed to be learning that you're not separate from your creator, the all knowing, the I am, the universe, that there is no separation between every single person on the planet, because every single person on the planet has that energy inside of them. And when we're born, that's the energy that we're made of. But what happens is that we're born into families and societies that collectively teach us, and then we form habits and behaviorisms that are in alignment with those perceptions. But is that real? No, it's not real. It's a reality that you're living, but is it real? It doesn't need to be your reality. There's many different realities that play out at one time. So we always look at the relationships and the spiritual blocks because, again, that's going to tell us a lot about what you just need to heal also within yourself, because you'll see spiritual blockages affect other areas of your life, not just relationships. You'll say like, well, my finances aren't really that great, or my health isn't really that great, or whatever it is. And so it's all about, it doesn't mean that you don't quit your medication if you take medication, because your body needs it. But over time, if you heal spiritually, it should change your DNA. It's your habits and your behaviorism that activate your DNA. Sickness and disease is only 5% inherited. So spiritual disease is psychological and emotional, held in the body as stress. Eventually does gonna turn into cancer, turns into other things. So we can actually heal. Gene Keys teaches us that we can actually heal the effects of trauma, and that would actually help you heal disease and physical imbalances. Oh, it's something that if you say in front of a doctor, they'll tell you no, no. But the truth of the matter is, it's yes, because God made you in its image. So your body and mind are self-healing organisms. You give it the right stuff, you're going to heal. You do the right stuff, you're going to get a different outcome. It's fact. It's not an illusion. It doesn't mean that you change the environment. Oh no, you're changing yourself. That's all about transformation. The environment helped you transform, helped you become a better version. That's the whole thing. When we see the wounded victor in religion is the fact that the serpent tempted Adam and Eve, and now we live here. And we live on the planet Earth, and we have to learn. We have to learn through pain and suffering. So, yes, we won, because the illusion, again, and symbolization from a Christian dogmatic perspective is that Christ rose from the dead. So, yes, we won the war, but it was at a great cost. Again, and that cost is pain and suffering and having to know what death is, and have because we ate from the tree of knowledge. So God wanted to protect us. And that's the thing. We were ignorant. We didn't know. The snake tempted us, and snakes tempt us every day, don't they? We're going to look at how some of these snakes tempt us, right? Within our relationship. All right, let's see what the underlying energy is. It's neglect, self-neglect. I'm already feeling something. I'm feeling someone thought that they were going to neglect you, and what they're realizing is that they neglect themselves. And also, again, don't neglect yourself because this person's neglecting you. Or anybody is neglecting you. So you could have a friend that's not really being a true friend right now. And you're like, they're not really being a true friend. So you're going to see again that fragmentation in the relationship imbalances, probably in a few different areas. That's why people say, oh, the same karmic theme continues to play out. Well, it does. But understand the genius is also the underlining energy. And I feel like you are not neglecting yourself. I feel like someone's thought that they were going to neglect you. They neglected themselves because you're not even thinking about it, really. You're thinking about other things at this point. And I feel like, and I say that because the genius is that creative genius. It's that intuitive side of mind. It's the psychic part of mind, the part of self that is intuitively led to become oneself. And also, well, that's where innovation comes from. That's the psychic mind, the right brain. You are in the right brain. You're not like stuck in your head trying to figure out why this person's doing what they did. They didn't give you time. They didn't give you energy. They neglected themselves. And I say that because the neglect is they didn't give you. And this person is still holding back. So is some of you still connected to this person? Really? Like, again, want to know about this person? Because I feel like this has been going on a long time. And so sometimes it's also the fact that there's nothing to take its place. You might be like, well, that person was passion. But the thing is, if you're in the genius energy, you're eventually going to be in the passion, in your passion, because that part of the mind brings you to that. It's not a logical process. It's an intuitive process. So again, father wound. So I feel like you're dealing with someone that has a father wound, and you also have a father wound. And father wound will come up as, like, I feel like the person that's connected to you is not, like, doesn't have masculine energy. And they might have been babied. They might have been, like their father might have been abusive. There was a lack of that connection. And so, usually there's a compensation where the mother then compensates and babies that child, or tries to make that child their partner, not in a weird way, but psychologically and emotionally, that's what the person feels like. So I feel like you're connected to someone that didn't give the energy because of that. They're not strong in who they are. And I feel like you never got it. Like, you needed that nurturing, that love from your dad, and you got an avoidant dad. And so the father wound is playing out within this energy still. And so you might still, that's the whole thing. When we don't learn the spiritual lesson, whatever's still attached to that spiritual lesson energetically is still connected to us. And that's why it's important to heal the effects of your trauma, because what will happen is the same karmic theme will continue to play out. All right, so let's see. It's forcing us to see, like, what this person did do, or what the issues are. And then we'll look and see what type of spiritual connection it is. So again, establish and communicate your own boundaries. Well, I feel like this person wouldn't really allow you set boundaries. And the reason why is because they don't really want rules. However, they want to be controlling. So whenever you're in a one-sided relationship, it's going to feel like an entanglement. And that's the thing. So this person doesn't say anything. They let the other person do all the work and get the emotional connection. You see, where they just act real passive. They might hint, they might do things to show you that they care, but it's not going to be consistent. The attachment style is not going to be like one that's secure. It's going to be one that you felt like you grew up with. That's how we're seeing that this like is still like that karmic theme is still playing out. Where again, spirit says, yeah, so it's all about the passion. And this tends to feel more like a fling than anything else. And that's because the person can become who they want you to think that they are in a very short amount of time, but they're imbalanced. Whenever we have an imbalance within one of our chakras or any of them, it's going to play out. So this person just lets other people do the work, and it normally works for them. But I want to look and see what is the spiritual connection. What is the person really thinking? What's going on spiritually if we can't really understand? And then we'll see what this person's going to do. This journey is teaching us one of the most important spiritual lessons, patience. So there's a sense that this person normally is very, very, very patient. Again, because they don't do anything. But I feel like you're playing the same game as they normally play because you've detached. Again, you're in the genius energy. You're in creative energy. So that's making this person think, but they think also like, oh, well, you usually get what you want. You know what I mean? Because like it's taking a long time. They assume that you were going to come back. They also feel like they, on some level, and don't be mad, don't shoot the messenger, but almost like we're just going to be together. I don't know how to, like, I just have that feeling. And so it could be a very strong spiritual connection. I'm afraid that you're going to meet someone before I'm ready to be with you for good. So you're in like this person may be still connected to someone else. They might be getting out of something. There's things going on with this in this person's life. So this explains why when they met you, they only were going to have like this entanglement. And it also shows that because they have that father wound, that they're always going to be insecure in relationships. And if they're leaving a relationship, well, they're coming in wounded. I'm praying that you'll come back after everything that's happened between us. I worry that you won't forgive me and allow me another chance. And so understand where they are on a spiritual level is now that you've cut your energy off because you're not, again, focused on them. They've been forced to think about you. And I also feel like their world is falling apart. Because their world is falling apart, there's, you know, they want to come back in. But if they don't have masculine energy, they'll never create roots. They won't create anything stable because the emotional connection is not going to be there. So it's not that this person doesn't have feelings. They have feelings. They say this is a spiritual connection. They don't realize they would be entering into another entanglement, whether you felt entangled or they felt entangled, because they haven't healed that father wound. You haven't healed that father wound. So you may say, I don't even want like this person anymore. I don't even know why I listen to these. It's just I'm not seeing anyone anymore. So I focus and spirits is because that energy is still there, whether the person's there or not. The father wound is what's influencing you, and that's stability, and that could be because of a number of factors. But it's not that this person doesn't have feelings. They have a lot of passion for you. They desire you. However, they're not strong within who they are. So again, we have to look and see what they're going to do, just because inquiring minds want to know, but that doesn't mean that you should go back with them. We need to look and see what you're supposed to be doing, again. But we want to know, inquiring minds just want to know, well, what is this person going to do? Are they ever going to heal? Are they ever going to come back? Are they ever going to, they're going to suffer? Like, oh, like what are you going to do? Again, drifting. So the more that you're not going to give energy to this person, I feel like if they're going to stay up in there, they're going to want this, but there's a sense that they're waiting for you to do something. Again, they haven't really changed in the fact that they still don't know how to create a strong connection. And that's because that takes vulnerability, and it takes transparency, and it takes a lot of other things. So that's what you're dealing with. So, non-committal. So they stay in that non-committal energy. So, and that's because they have that father wound. And the father wound will always play out as a lack of security, a lack of feeling safe. Like there's a shame, there's a lot of spiritual blockages there. So when a person has this type of trauma, is again that they need to do that serious healing. But again, you're a mirror of who and what comes into your life. That's how we started this. So spirit says, so let's take a look at your healing, because again, you might say, I don't want to be connected to this person. Or if you are connected to this person, once you heal, the best that that situation would actually do, by the way, as you heal, you wouldn't like that person anymore, but you would be the catalyst to help this person heal, because, people that like people, well, they tend to, you become the muse for that person. Like, what am I supposed to do? I have no direction. And that's through the way that you live. If you're in the creative genius, you're already starting to do it. It's just you may not be seeing fruits to your labor yet. You might not be, but there's some, again, father wound that's still playing out, that's affecting. So you're like, I'm still corded to this person. And the spirit says, like, again, that they symbolize something. All right, so let's see what the energy is. Let's pull 8 today. And we won't really look at them until we have pulled them all out. Lost count. Okay, let's see. And then we are going to also see what you're supposed to transmute. Okay, well, we see, look, frustration, we see rage, we see lies and secrets, overwhelmed, cleansing, vulnerability. Here, there's that third eye, and play. All right, so when we look at the inner child wound cards, obviously, if you grew up with a parent that, needed healing, it's the environments that they grew up in, the same thing, family, it's what they were taught, but they weren't healed. Any little thing that you do, you can have a parent that gets triggered. They're just people. So it's not a blame game. But when you have a rageful parent, they're going to be abuseful. Oh, I thought that this was rage. It's abuse. But when I feel abuse, I feel it's the lies about who they told you that you were. So it was psychological and emotional. And it was, that perception. It could have been one of your parents. Now it could be the mother that was that way, and the father just didn't do anything to help you because they didn't know how to deal with that situation. So that's abandonment. Or it could have been your father that did it. Either way, it's still going to be a father wound, because again, but I feel like it was the father that wasn't there for you. They kind of sat there and allowed it to happen because they didn't know how to deal with that. They had a horrible relationship, and if they said anything, then that abuse was taken out on them. So that person allowed you to take that pain because they couldn't deal with it. It's again, so the lie is that you were told, and God forbid if you're going to tell anybody, it's like then you're going to get even more punished because children will tend to like tell their friend or it'll come out, and so there's punishment with that, and it's physical abuse. So it's psychological, it's emotional, it's physical abuse, and that affects a child like way they don't play like me and go out and find themselves, right? They don't form the proper connections. Really, that's the problem. It's not that they don't go out and play, but going out and playing, you find your friends. And trust is something that happens over time. But if you're conditioned in an environment where the parents abusive and they're telling you that you're a piece of crap every day because they haven't healed, because they're throwing their pain onto you and the other parent's kind of watching or looking the other way, then there's no roots, there's no stability. And so what happens is that it affects, like, again, that connection to really be grounded. Children get grounded when they go out and play. They go out and play in the dirt, they play on the swing set, they ride their bikes, they have friends, and they're allowed to like speak, like, hey, they feel something that doesn't feel right. Kids are so honest. They'll tell you, hey, you're bald, like like, or that doesn't look right. They're gonna, because they're confident in the fact that they have their roots, their parents encourage them. Not if were abused, if you grew up in that type of an environment. So we can see that how frustration like comes into play. Everything then is an issue. Everything's a problem because that person makes it that way. So you become very hyper vigilant because again, growing up in an environment where there's abuse, now have to pay more attention to what this person's needs are going to be. How are you going to survive? How are you going to go down to the kitchen to get yourself a drink? Like, it's like you got to go into a war zone. That's what it feels like. It's like, oh, like when you used to, how many times if you grew up in that type of an environment and you had a sibling, you'd call up and they'd answer the phone. What kind of mood are they in? Yeah, what are they doing now? Yeah, like, and that sibling would be like giving you step by step, like, well, they haven't started, they just started on their third drink. By like, you got about an hour before you get home. Like, I mean, you begin to hide the lie because when parents have this type of rage, well, there's addictions there. There's a lie that now everyone has to cover up, and that's going to affect again your unfoldment process, your unique individuality, how you perceive yourself. So spirit's saying, so there was for a long time, again, in order to survive, well, you couldn't run away. So you had to detach and disassociate. So where do you think you went? You went into your mind, you went into the imagination. That's why the child that survives thrives. Because again, they don't really remember a lot of their childhood. And remember a lot of it because again of that abuse. So the child was told that they weren't allowed to ever be vulnerable. If you show emotion, well, there's going to be consequences. And you don't have a good attachment to anything, so you didn't feel safe. So, friends and relationships, you gave more, but the karmic lesson is that whenever you show any type of vulnerability, because people perceive that you're not that way because you were conditioned in an environment not to be that way. But is that your regular way? No, that's not your regular way. That's nobody's regular way, Spirit says. So you're always been able to like clear yourself, like understand that amongst the overwhelmness, and that's growing up in an environment like that, you're going to be overwhelmed because you're growing up in survival mind. There's no security. So you're conditioned again through what's going on in the environment, not through what's really happening. So you get out of that type of, you know, environment. Well, you're still programmed. And so the father wound is always going to play out as a lack of security, a lack of support, a lack of structure. And so even sometimes discipline. So really sometimes discipline falls into the second chakra. But first and second chakra really play so much together. They're interlapped when we're talking about our spiritual centers. Second chakra is all about your unique individuality, who you perceive you are. You can go with the flow of life when you're in the passion for life. It's a birthing center. So we birth the baby there. Well, you also birth ideas, right? You have it's the passion that you have with the person, and it's also the passion for life. Without that, there's no identity. So, and there's no identity because, hey, there was no support. There were other things going on. What took precedence was your survival, psychologically, emotional, spiritual. The mind doesn't know the difference. It only knows, hey, it wasn't safe. And it wasn't safe because there was no support. So we can see, but Spirit says, but when you grow up in that environment, you're going to have gifts. And so, again, we started with the creative genius, and you're in there. You're making things happen, and people see it, and they're intimidated by it. So it's going to bring up a lot of those old wounds, which, again, this isn't about wanting approval, because it's all about you creating the support for yourself to really reparent yourself. It doesn't mean you're not going to go through all the manifestations that you went through as a kid. The difference is that you're not the same person as you were as a kid. So you're not going to handle it the same way. You handle it like, that's your issue. Because I'm having a good time doing what I'm doing. I'm grounded. I'm in the moment. I'm in the now. I refuse to let you take my joy. I refuse to let you take my passion. I'm going where I want to go. And in that, you cut that karmic cord with anything that's not really going to be of your highest good. And it's not because, hey, you're being mean. What it is it's like that's just the natural process of alchemy. It's like because God says, well, you're down there to learn and to become the expression of love by doing what you love. I'm sorry, I'm looking for a specific deck of cards. I have so many decks that then I had put them all in, like, I only have so many bags, so I have to combine. My system isn't working, okay? Because I'm not an organized person. I have a father wound. No, but yeah. Well, every master starts off as a disaster. Remember that. Had to start somewhere. So again, that doesn't mean that I now that my father's passed, I always feel like his energy is here. I always feel like he's around me. He was around me more now in death than he was in life ever. And that's because I know that he's really sorry and he's felt guilty. And I knew that right before he died too, because I got to go back and see him right before. And when I walked through the door, he sat up and he was so happy and so proud. And it was great. And so my dad is almost like learning through me is what I feel, because father wounds are, it doesn't mean that your father didn't love you. It meant that didn't know how to deal with whatever was going on with his life, his relationship, and how he perceived himself. It's just it is taken out onto us if you have a father wound. If you're listening, then you do. But Spirit says again, the relationship was to help you transform. Again, turn fears into strength as you step into your power. And that's really what it is. It's like no one can take what's yours. Only you can forfeit what's yours by emotionally letting people like make you feel a certain way. Remember, you have to go through it to get through it, but you're going through it differently because you're not the same person. That's what transformation is. We can't change our environment, we change ourselves. And you better believe once we change ourselves, oh, the people in the environment change because they don't have a choice. And so it's not done by words, it's done by actions, by becoming yourself, by not letting anybody take, what's yours, not asking permission to take what's yours either. Releasing the limiting beliefs that no longer serve you. It was at a time when you grew up in that environment that you had to, settle for less, deal with the abuse. But you don't need to do that. Change the environment. We don't change you. Be true to you. Change the environment. That's what spirit's saying. It's like transformation comes in the fact that you're like saying, I don't need that. I can create my own support. I can create that myself. And in that, that's the way that the universe makes a way out of no way just for you. Again, you're not in charge of your path. You're only in charge of, what you want to create. So it's all about, letting the divine work through you and you'll be led. Again, as one door closes, another door opens, and it's always going to be for your betterment. Remember that as you evolve. Release control. That's what I was trying to explain. The spirit says, release control. Like again, growing up in that environment, the father wound is going to give you a bad root chakra imbalance. I don't feel safe. I don't feel supported. And God says, I'm your father. It's again more than that person was your father. Again, because your relationship after that person is no longer in your life, I've always been in your life. So the support comes in the fact that I work through you, through gut, intuition, inner knowing, and I also work through your environment. So when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Don't do my job. Do your job. Be like childlike. Oh, I know playing isn't fun for you because I don't know. What does that mean? And Spirit says, through creating yourself, innovation. This is easy for you because hey, you learn to survive within your imagination. So release control and get out of your analytical mind. It's not going to help you during this time. It's like you have to go with what you feel. And it's all about like leaving, like again, the environment, the spirit saying it's like it's time to see yourself differently. And sometimes I guess it's like go out into the world and see what other opportunities that there are. Again, go out. It's like, and this is but grounding. You don't need anyone to drive you or take you. Do this yourself. It's again, it'll be rewarding because it's time to alchemize the energy. Again, this is what Spirit's saying is like you turn all that pain into power. When again, there's a father when that's painful. It's like, how can you sit there and let me take this or not protect me or not do what I perceive a father would do for like a person that they loved, a child that they loved. That's traumatic to a child. They don't need to be beating you. It's like it's as severe as if you were beaten. We tend to ignore it. We tend to suppress it and look the other way on it. It's like children need nurturing. And it's not a blame game because again they weren't taught. They were raised differently. But it's time that we, you know, educate and teach and that we integrate those energies for ourselves because like I said, if having a father wound is bad. You'll have everything that creates support. And when we're talking of the physical body, we're talking our endocrination system, we're talking our skeleton system, we're talking our nervous system. So if you're someone that is like, oh, I'm so nervous all the time, or I have immune system issues, it's because there was no support. So you grew up in survival mind. So you conditioned your mind. So you're going to see more cortisol. You're going to see more allergies. You're going to see more, again, immune system issues. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's not a little deal. Our society doesn't teach about spiritual disease. It's like, and it's because, hey, it's not conducive for their economic plan for us, you know. But really, God made us in its image. We have our body and mind are self-healing organisms. That's why you eat the right foods and you do the right things and you learn to heal the effects of your trauma. Well, then one day heaven will be on earth. But understand there's a spiritual war happening right now, and that's spiritual warfare on your mind. There's a battle for your mind because your soul is connected to your mind. It's like your mind will act like it's more superior and be very easily triggered to go into survival mode. So it's very important now to integrate, you know, to integrate spiritual things and get close to God, get close to Jesus. I mean, I'm a Catholic, so I believe that, but you got to believe in what you believe and get close to your God and you know, live by those laws. You live by those laws, well, then you're going to be okay. No one's free from going through this. It's just how well we can go through it. And that's the thing. You want to go through it easy. And the way that you do is you have to integrate your trauma. All right. Spirit says again, a new opening. Oh my God, didn't I say this? Didn't I say this? Out of all these cards, this is the one that I just pulled. When one door closes, I am confident another will open and it will be for your betterment. I accept that life brings challenges and acknowledge the opportunity and learning they present to me. Serenity comes from within. So it's all up to you. So that's why I'm saying, you know, no one's free from going through like the things that society and, even within our family, but we can go through it a lot easier. And that's through healing. Otherwise, we'll tend to get stuck in those karmic loops. All right, until next time, be true to you. Thanks for joining. If you resonated, hello, Warrior Will. Sorry, I didn't see that until now. Um, and I'm sorry, I know I was supposed to come on a little bit earlier today, but then I got caught up in, I'm working with some people and they reach out at the worst time, so I had to move it, and then I think I missed it. So it's been a little bit all over the place. Lack of grounding. I need to work on my father wound. Again, grounding is hard when you're up in your head all the time, right? Who wants to be grounded? It's boring, right? It's so slow, the physical world, and heavy, especially when you're usually up in your head. But the truth of the matter is that you actually become more spiritual and open up your psychic abilities more when you're grounded, because that's why we have it, to try and navigate our life successfully. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.